Welcome to Alouettes Flightdeck, podcast dedicated to Montreal Alouettes football. I'm Tim Capper. You can find me on Twitter at Repact. That's REPPACT.
And I'm Cliffy D, but you can also find me on Twitter, but at Cliffy D. And this episode of the Alouettes Flightdeck podcast is presented by our good friends over at SportBuff, where right now you can save 10% off your entire order by using the promo code FlightDeck-10. Head on over to www.sportbuffshop.com for all of your sports merchandising needs.
And you can also find us on many places on the internet. If you head over to www.alouettesflightdeck.ca, you can find our entire archive of shows going back the full 7 years. You can also find us on Twitter. That's at Alouettes FLDeck. You can find us on Instagram. Look for Alouettes Flight Deck. Facebook is Alouettes Flight Deck Pod. And YouTube is youtube.com/Alouettes Flight Deck, where we are looking to add some more things in a very, very short period of time. So stay tuned for that. Again, we will be giving away the satin jacket as promised within the next few weeks, but it will be before the end of this year's broadcast season. And lastly, if you want to buy some merch to rep the pod, whether it be at home, at the game, buying groceries, at the store, sitting on the pot, it could be wherever you want to wear it, we'll be happy that you have it. Hey, even in the shower or the pool, head over to teespring.com/stores/Owls and rock your merch just like Cliff, myself, and our significant others. It will be a game day, obviously, but we want to at least mention there's going to be a slight modification, right, Cliff, for how we are going to be doing the giveaway for the Thanksgiving Day Monday tickets for the flight crew seats, aren't we?
Absolutely. I guess because it's Turkey Day, Thanksgiving, as it's well known, we decided to switch things up a little bit, and we want to make sure that these flight crew seats go to a very deserving person. And who better than our great Twitter followers? So if you're not on Twitter, I mean, get on that, for crying out loud. It's 2022. I mean, come on. Anyways, get on Twitter. Make sure you send us a message using the hashtag #FlightCrewSeats, and you will be entered in the draw to win two seats to the October 10th game versus the Ottawa Redblacks. That's Thanksgiving Monday, folks. So get your turkey, get your stuff in, and you get some football. Doesn't get much better than that, does it?
No, it does not. And we will be making the draw. We'll be making the winner known on next week's show. We will be doing the draw prior to the broadcast of the pod itself. But again, we'll put out a tweet on social media. You can reply to it. You can just send us a message on Twitter to our Flight Deck account. But again, that is the hashtag is Flight Crew Seats. And good luck, everybody. We want to see you on Turkey Day.
There you go.
I wish there was kind of a segue, Thanksgiving, Turkey Day. I guess we did the Alouettes and the Tiger Cats kind of had too much to eat, you think, that first half? Because that was probably one of the roughest first halves of football I've seen in quite a while.
Oh, it's funny you mentioned that, because I actually did kind of make a joke at halftime on, I tweeted it out. Like, this like NyQuil chicken that seems to be making the rounds on like TikTok and Instagram. Like, people apparently this is apparently a thing. People are trying to cook with like their chicken in NyQuil.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't get it either.
Now you're going to make me go look on TikTok.
Maybe don't. Just
okay.
Trust me. Apparently it's a thing. And hopefully nobody with half a brain, or, as long as you, oh God.
Yeah.
People, I don't know what's wrong with you, but don't cook chicken in NyQuil. But I couldn't help but wonder if maybe that was the pregame meal for the Alouettes, because they were lethargic. They were sleepy. They must have been on cold medication, because how else would you explain such a lackluster half of football? And the Hamilton was just not that much better, to tell you the truth. I mean, yes, they found the end zone, but I mean, this was just a meh kind of half of football.
Yeah, I mean, the Alouettes have had this kind of half already this year where they only did score 3 points. It was earlier in the season, but still, It was just I don't know what it was. I mean, we've had the third quarter last week with the game. I just really don't know what was the actual cause of it. I mean, was it the weather? Because, dude, I will admit it was for for the first game in fall in Montreal. It was cold. I've talked to a few other people too, by the way. It was just like downright cold. We needed another layer. I needed a toque. I needed hand warmers. I needed something else because it was just damn cold. But maybe that affected the Alouettes too. Who the hell knows?
Could very well be. Although technically, though, like usually people will get up and get moving and just exercise or do whatever it takes to get the blood flowing. And then you figure, okay, guys on the field would be able to do that because they're running around, they're stretching, they're doing everything they can to stay loose. So you can't help but wonder, like, would the cold have affected them to that extent? I mean, yeah, sitting in the stands is one thing. Like, we're just sitting there, and yeah, like the wind cutting through you at Percival Molson Stadium was just like a knife practically. And I even wore like a couple of layers, like thin layers, mind you. So maybe that was probably it. And in hindsight, I should have wore my own version of the beautiful satin retro jacket that we'll be giving away to some lucky YouTube subscriber. Mm-hmm. In hindsight, probably should have packed that instead of the usual flight deck merch. But it is what it is.
I guess that's next on the. On the to buy list for Tim and Cliff. We need ourselves a warmer fall-ish jacket, I guess.
I think we could look into getting like our own bomber jackets or like fleece line jackets or something like that. Something that would help combat the wind.
Yeah,
because that's really what it was. And it's funny though because it didn't the wind was affecting much on the field.
No,
because let's not forget, like the field goal kickers for the most part didn't have to contend with the wind, even at the point where when the Hamilton deferred to the second half, Montreal Montreal won the toss.
Yeah,
elected to receive, but then Hamilton chose to defend the other side.
Yeah,
like you're going against the wind in the fourth quarter. Like that's ballsy. Okay.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the temperature at kickoff was 11 degrees. Winds were at 22 from the northwest, but it really didn't feel. It felt like we were feeling it more in the stands than we saw it on the field because, as you said, and you mentioned something to me specifically about the field goal kickers when the Owls tried their 51-yard field goal. We thought it was nuts, but we were getting the wind in the stands, but yet the flags on the goalposts were seemed almost limp.
Yeah, like barely a flutter. And because at first I thought David Cote's got a pretty good leg and he can kick a ball with authority, but I'm like, are you going to kick a 51-yarder into the wind? Are you nuts? Mm-hmm. But lo and behold, I guess there really wasn't that much wind, if any at all, because he made it no problem, like nothing but net.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Okay. So maybe it's like, I guess the wind for whatever reason just seems to only affect the people in the stands. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Just over 17,000 saw the Alouettes beat the Hamilton Tiger Cats 23-16. Cliff, the win put the Alouettes 2.5 games up on the Tiger Cats, 4 points in the standings, but the Alouettes have a game in hand. And Hamilton is off this week, so we could essentially be, if we beat Edmonton, we will be up 6 full points in the standings. But
and incredibly, still can't clinch the playoff spot.
Yeah, I saw that. I've already seen it was in this week's notes that the Alouettes cannot clinch a playoff spot.
It's bizarre, but yeah.
Well, okay. I guess.
I mean, Toronto's already punched their ticket, so.
Well, I think if I remember correctly, and I checked too, is that even with a loss, Ottawa is not eliminated either, because technically right now there is a scenario where all 3 teams could end up at 8-10.
There is, yeah. Mathematically, they are still alive.
That would be why.
Right.
So, but yeah, the Alouettes outscored the Tiger Cats in the second half 20-6. They did dominate the second half. Something woke them up. Maybe they gave them those hand warmers, or whatever the heck they call them.
Maybe IVs full of hot chocolate.
something. But again, it wasn't a pretty game. But it got
They rarely are.
But it got people going in the second half. Not only them, but the crowd. And I will admit, dude, the crowd really got into it. Considering how cold of a night it was, and it's just over 17K. That crowd was loud in the second half. It really was, and I think it played a huge difference. And for the Alouettes against the Tiger Cats when they were in offense.
Yeah, I was very happy to see that as well. I always say that the section that we sit in, Y1, we're very fortunate to be surrounded by some very good football fans, like people that are really knowledgeable about football and really are passionate about the team. So that definitely adds to the experience. It makes it a lot more fun. But I'm finding more and more that the fans are really getting more into it, and I think realizing okay, this is a football team that needs support, and let's give it to them because it will pay off. And sure enough, they woke up, and when the Alouettes would do great things, when they would finally manage to find the end zone, they got up, they got excited, and people were getting into it, which was fantastic. And I've said it numerous times, folks, Percival Wilson Stadium is technically the smallest stadium in the Canadian Football League. But you give these fans, however many they are, if you give them something to cheer for, they'll cheer. They'll be loud. And not just with air horns, by the way, like with actual noise, like actual real man-made noise. They will get loud. And sure enough, they did. Like, especially once Montreal finally took the lead and kept it and added to it. Like, yeah, when it came down to the fact that it was Hamilton had to do something with what essentially was their last series, all of a sudden, like I joked, like, okay, now the Thunderdome comes on. And sure enough, everybody gets loud. The music gets loud, like that loud techno-y kind of music. Yeah, they start playing that.
Yeah, they've changed some stuff in the past couple of weeks, I will admit. Yep. But it works.
And the fans are responding in kind. That's what I love is the fans are getting into it. They realize, okay, the Alouettes are on defense. Make noise. Yes, you have to be reminded constantly, faites du bruit, make some noise, but they're making the noise. And I think there was even at one point during the fourth quarter, there was a time count violation by Hamilton. So it works, folks. Believe it or not, it does work.
Yep, it does. We've gone back and forth with the talking about Trevor Harrison and a good Trevor, bad Trevor type of thing. He was 26 of 35. That's at a 74% clip, completion rate, 244 yards, no interceptions, key, and 2 touchdowns. Thoughts on Trevor Harris? As an example, Dane Evans, who had a monster game last week at a career day. Dane was 22 of 29 at a 76% clip, 288, but no interceptions, no touchdowns. Thoughts on Trevor Harris?
Listen, this is the Trevor Harris that we've come to expect. He put up some nice numbers. He pads his stats. That's what he does. That's what he does. But he did also score touchdowns, which is crucial. And no picks. Technically, no fumbles either, although there was that one awful snap that he had to recover quickly. But he was a game manager. That's what he did. He managed the game last week and did an okay job. Like I'll give credit where credit's due. He got the win. He did get Eugene Lewis for a couple of touchdowns. That's what we expect. We expect our quarterback to find the end zone. That's not such a terrible concept, is it?
No, not at all.
As far as his play goes, he made some throws that, quite frankly, he had no business making, but somehow managed to complete them, like literally throwing against his body. And I thought, oh my God, like what was it? But then he'd complete the pass, and like, oh, okay, like Jake Winicky, he had 2 outstanding catches.
No kidding. One he had to go get.
Well, that's just it. Like, this is the thing is that, Trevor Harris threw some nice passes, but was it more about the fact that were they nice because Trevor threw them, or were they nice because the receiver pretty much had to do some gymnastics in order to be able to catch them, and it just looked impressive. It's one of those chicken and egg kind of things. You're like, okay, listen, at the end of the day, he did what he had to do. He helped the Alouettes get the W. I'll give him credit for that. I seem to get dragged by the Alouettes' Joey Alfieri for not showing him the love. So know what? Here,
once again this week.
Exactly. And listen, maybe if the Alouettes were cutting meat checks, I'd shower praise upon praise for Trevor Harris too. But listen, I'll give credit where credit's due. Trevor did what he had to do to win the game.
Yeah.
And that's what we expect out of our starting quarterback. If you're the starting quarterback of the Montreal Alouettes, we expect you to find the Geno Lewises. We expect you to find the Jake Winnekes. We expect you to find the Reggie White Juniors and score points.
Exactly.
That's pretty much it. Like, you do that, you win games, then you'll get your props. Simple as that.
Yep. Harris threw to eight different receivers that all had a catch. Geno Lewis led the team with 52 yards on 7 receptions, 2 TDs, and unlike last year, which he deserved so much last year, but he got hurt near the end of the year. Geno broke the 1,000-yard barrier. Congratulations, Geno. Jake Winneke, only on 2 receptions, was second on the team with receiving with 51 yards. KJG had 46 yards. Reggie White Jr. had 38 on some great catches by Reggie White Jr., by the way.
Including the 2-point convert, which...
yes, sir.
Just the icing on the cake as far as I was concerned. Like, yes, it was great that the Alouettes took the lead, scored a touchdown, but to really hammer the point home, going for 2. And I can see why they would have to go for 2, because let's not forget, after the first touchdown to Eugene Lewis, unfortunately, David Cote doinked the
I know. Points. What? Stop the doinks.
And they say, always go for 2. You talk to our man Derek Taylor out in Winnipeg, and he is the hugest proponent for always go for 2. And sure enough, when the Alouettes scored their second touchdown, they went for 2. And Reggie White was able to haul it in. And shout out to the Reggie White cheering section, apparently, which is the section next to us. It is awesome. There's a whole group of young men. I don't know if it's Reggie's friends or family or just well-wishers, but they were right up there. We're like, Reggie. Amazing. Like, so shout out to those guys. I mean, like, again, shout out to Reggie too for doing, getting everybody amped up. Exactly. And sometimes it's just something as simple as a 2-point convert is just enough to keep the fans excited, get them hyped, and just keep the good momentum going.
Exactly. Rookie sensation Tyson Philpott, 4 receptions for 24 yards. Today's guest, Walter Fletcher, had a catch for 17. Hergy Manale had 10 yards. Who else? Did I forget anybody? Yes, Joshua Antwi had 1 catch for 6. How was your thoughts on the running game itself? And we do talk a little bit with Walter about it, and we'll get to the interview in a couple of minutes here. Walter led the team with 45 yards on 8 carries, a good clip of 5.6 yards. Joshua Antwi almost matched it himself. I mean, only 6 carries, but he had 31 yards, and that was at 5.2 yards per carry. Thoughts on this, because as of right now, we don't know, because we're not going to see the depth chart until possibly Thursday or Friday on what's going to be happening, because it's no secret that William Stanback is currently limited at practice, but he is practicing. Current thoughts on the running game for this game, and what the addition of William Stanback could do for the Alouettes offense.
Well, without question, just the thought that William Stanback is coming back in time for a playoff run is going to make a lot of teams go, oh, crap. Well, there goes any chance that we had of making the playoffs or trying to best the Alouettes. Well, that's out the window because William Stanback is back. Just the fact that he suited up and is practicing this week is tremendous. But I do believe that according to 3 Down Nation, they've pretty much stated that according to the team, that Stanback is practicing, but will not be in the lineup against Edmonton. So you get a reprieve there, Elks fans. Just the idea, though, the fact that he's back practicing is huge. And that's not to take anything away from what Walter Fletcher and Joshua Antwi have done this year, because they have been extremely solid. They've both been great options. I would like to see the run game used even more. And there's a little part of me that has to wonder, like, opposing teams must realize just how good these guys truly are, because I do feel like they're able to bottle up the running backs. Like, every now and again, these guys will break out a huge run. Like you look at Fletcher last week, he had a 21-yard scamper that was really nice and really got the crowd hyped up. But you don't see too many of those, and I can't help but wonder if it's just the fact that they realize, okay, we're going to try to force Trevor Harris to throw, and hopefully he'll make his mistake, even though realistically he doesn't make too many of them. I mean, to the point where when he does make them, you're like groaning because I can't believe you did that. Like 9 times out of 10, you make that pass, no problem. But this time you didn't. It's that kind of thought process. And I can't help but wonder if it's because of the fact that defensive coordinators are scheming against the fact that, okay, this Alouettes run game is dangerous and we've got to be able to stop them no matter what. So not to take anything away from what Fletcher or Antwi have done this year, because you give them the opportunity, they will run roughshod over you. Mm-hmm. And now you're going to be adding William Stanback back into the mix. It's going to make things very interesting, because now how do you have this potential 3-headed monster? Is there a way of getting all 3 of these guys involved?
I know. It's going to be very interesting with how this roster could potentially be shaped and or change because of the addition of William Stanback, which looks like he'll be back for Turkey Day versus Ottawa. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, it's a good problem to have when you think about it, if you're the Alouettes, to know that you've got now 3 like all-star caliber running backs, 3 guys that you give them the rock, they're going to definitely move the chains. But you may not be able to have all 3 on the field to, or dress. Or, I mean, they'll be dressed, but like throughout, like how do you rotate them in? I guess would be the best way to put it. Like, how do you,
especially with Antwi being a Canadian.
Exactly.
This is where the ratio could easily loom large with how Danny Mack is going to decide how this team's going to be shaped going forward. But exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to double duty, kind of what Stanback did a couple years ago. I would not be surprised if it's a 1-2 thing for just to start, to slowly get him back into it. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Well, obviously we'll be able to talk about it more next week once we see. Where the Alouettes are, and when it comes to, I guess we say how healthy he is.
Yeah, because you're not going to want to throw him into the fire. There's absolutely no need to. I think this is, as far as I'm concerned, the perfect situation. Just the fact that he's back after the injury suffered in week 1,
I know,
is tremendous. And the last thing you want to do is put any undue pressure on Stanback. You just want to get him in there, let him do his thing, because you give him the opportunity. And he's going to straight up bowl over people. He's going to lower his shoulder and make plays happen. So,
yeah.
But realizing, listen, we're in a playoffs position right now, and barring something catastrophic, we're going to make the playoffs. So save your best efforts for the playoffs. Like that's what I would tell William Stanback 100%. And I'm hoping that the running back committee realizes this, and they say to him, like, okay, we want you, and we will definitely make you a focal part of the offense again. It's just let's not rush it. Simple as that. Just
exactly.
Let it happen naturally, organically, and knowing full well you've got Fletcher and Antwi there. So, there's no pressure whatsoever. Just let William come in, do what he does, and I think fans will be excited, and this team will be rewarded for that patience.
Thoughts on the offense and the defensive lines themselves, because Owls did win the sack. I guess the sack race and stuff by a score of 1-0, but it just goes to show that the Alouettes, the O-line did quite well, considering how formidable that the Tiger Cats defensive line is. They didn't give up a sack at all. Thoughts on both the offensive and defensive lines for this past game?
Well, let's start with the defensive line. I mean, we've already know how well they've played this year, and the return of Jamal Davis. Whew, I mean, that's a great way to
back. Yeah.
Exactly. Way to reintroduce yourself to your fans is, oh, by the way, let me throw Dane Evans down on the ground and notch the 1 sack throughout the game. That's pretty impressive. And again, you got to give props to both of these offensive lines for the most part. Like if there's only 1 sack between 2 teams, that's telling me both O-lines are doing a fantastic job of protecting their quarterback. And Montreal has done a very good job of that as well. I mean, the fact that Trevor Harris is able to get the ball out. I mean, I do see him getting the ball out a little bit quicker now, which is nice. And the best way to, you don't want to hang on to the ball too long, but sometimes you do need to make your reads and make sure that your O-line is able to give you that time and space to work with. And by and large, I think they've done a fairly decent job in being able to let Trevor do what he needs to do. And that's where you get to see some of those plays. Like, as I said, some of those throws that realistically he should not have been trying to even attempt, but lo and behold, he does and completes the pass. Okay, well, then, like I said, you can say that, oh, well, Trevor did a great job throwing the ball. I'm like, yeah, he did, but he wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for the fact that he had the time and the space to be able to do so properly. And that's where your offensive line comes in. And I'm thankful that right now this line is as healthy as it's been in a long, long time. Like, we haven't had too many major injuries aside from Sean Jameson earlier this year, but he's back now, and he's back at that high level that we've come to expect out of him. I mean, pretty much everybody on this offensive line has really done a phenomenal job this year in doing what they can to protect the quarterback, and also creating some of these lanes for guys like Walter Fletcher and Jeff Antwi to come and rack up some of these like 10, 20-yard runs. And it's as far as I'm concerned, the offensive line has really been outstanding this year, all things considered.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Kind of a downer note on a couple of things, by the way. We did have the return this past week of Tyrell Richards, but for series, we talked to him post-game, an arm injury. He wasn't sure yet. He's been I don't think he's actually been at practice this week at all. Because he was a no-show, or was listed as a non-participant on Tuesday, and today I think he was limited, if I'm not mistaken, or did not practice at all. Tough for a rookie like him. He's had such a second injury. Don't know how long he's going to be out, but obviously he was in high spirits when we spoke to him post game. That he's hoping to be back very, very shortly, and also, whether he is he's on the other side of the field or not, he still has been a part of Alouettes Nation, Cliff. We still have to give a huge shout out, obviously, for because it was a pretty. I'll let you explain it, but there was a pretty rough injury in the. When was it? In the third quarter. For the Tiger Cats.
Yeah, it was tough because it was just as the Alouettes were driving downfield to score their first touchdown, and unfortunately, former Alouette Rodney Randall Jr. Just kind of got caught in some friendly fire with one of his teammates, and to the point where they collided, and there was even a bent face mask, and your first thought immediately, like, he was lying there and just not moving, and immediately, like, you could hear a pin drop inside the stadium. Like, that's how quiet it was. Like, just shock more than anything else too. And then you even see the Alouettes bench reacting, like trying to get the attention of the paramedics to try and get do whatever they can to get medical attention over to Randall right away. And it was funny because like everything stopped, so we didn't know what was going on. And then like I had to hop on Twitter to see what was happening, see if they could find out who it was. And sure enough, when they saw it was Rodney Randall, who was making his return to Montreal after being let go after being released by the Alouettes and signing with the Tiger Cats. He was playing his first game back in Montreal, and it's tough. I mean, you don't want to see anybody get hurt, but I mean, just the way that you see almost immediately, everybody was just quiet. Guys were down on one knee, praying as they tend to do. Just thinking good thoughts and hoping the best and making sure that he was going to be okay. And I'm very happy to report that all the tests came back negative. I think he just took one hell of a shot, like a stinger, if you will. But he was able to regain control of his limbs, and he even tweeted out afterwards, like the next morning, saying that he's okay. He's just took a really bad shot, and he'll be back. He said, I imagine there's still some recovery to be done, but he did mention that he was okay, and he appreciated all the well wishes. And yeah, we definitely think nothing but good things for Rodney.
Oh, exactly. I said, no matter if you're on the other side of the ball, if you're either way, or whether you've been to Montreal or not, he was a part of Alouettes Nation. That's the main thing too. And just it was good. I saw his tweet too. Will he? Tiger Cats are on a bye. Does it mean he'll be back next? We don't know. But yeah, Tiger Cat fans. Wow, say that. That was really.
That's quite a tongue twister.
I know, eh? Watch out for this dude. Make sure he's okay. That's the main thing. Hey Cliff, let's get out of the cold. Grab a hot drink, cider, hot chocolate, coffee, or your favorite alcoholic beverage, whatever it may be, whatever warms you up inside, if you know what I mean. And let's talk to this week's guest. It was a guy who did not start with the Alouettes initially, but was brought over because of the situation with the situation with William Stanbeck. We had a great chat, so I hope you guys stay and listen to the entire thing, because great guy to talk to. I know he's mentioned that he's been want to be on the show for a couple of weeks, and we were happy to finally be able to get him on. So without further ado, let's talk to Walter Fletcher, and when we get back, we will preview the upcoming matchup versus the Edmonton Elks. And joining us this episode is a gentleman who has been a huge help at the running back position, been able to step in when the Owls needed him the most. I would currently call him the Alouettes' current starting running back, number 25, Walter Fletcher. Hey, Walter, thanks for joining us, man.
No problem. Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to do this interview, and I'm ready to get started, man. Thank you.
You mentioned to us, I just have to ask, you mentioned to us before we started the podcast, 3 days back, since you got on the field today after 3 days off. What is, for you, what are 3 days like in the pro football player Walter Fletcher like?
I usually take a day off, just completely rest, detach my mind from everything, just kind of kick my feet up, just recover from the game before. On the second day, I go to the facility, check in with Coach Andre, say what's up, get a lift in, hop in the tubs. And then on the third day, another recovery day, just transitioning my mind back to, practice and check out some game film on our opponent and get ready for the work week.
Now, I know we'll talk this a little bit later too, but obviously this is going to be an interesting game for you, especially this week, because it is a team that, used to hold your rights before you were traded to the Montreal Alouettes. Does that give you any more motivation for this week?
Yes, 100%. I know we played Edmonton the first time around here. We had a pretty big lead. We lost the lead, we lost the game, but I'm happy that we have another opportunity, which is this upcoming Saturday. But, every time we play Edmonton, there's no bad blood there, of course. It's part of the business. But, of course, that game is circled for me on the calendar. And, it's a game that, we have to win, just the circumstances that we're in right now. But for myself personally, it's a game that, I always want to, do well and help our team win the best way that I could.
For sure. And you've been doing, as I said at the beginning, you've been a great help, obviously, within the running back position, obviously, with what happened this year. I want to find out about you and how you got into football, and I know you actually transferred from Edinburgh over to Ball State, but what in particular got you into football, Walter?
Really, my stepfather. My mom got remarried when I was 6 years old. So my stepfather, he played football growing up, Little League, high school, of course, but he was a big Philadelphia Eagles fan. So he really introduced me into football. I was more of a basketball player growing up, but started playing football in 7th grade for the Ellicott City Patriots. Ended up playing football for 2 years until I went to high school. I went to Centennial High School in Ellicott City, Maryland. I played 3 years of varsity there. I actually just got elected to the Hall of Fame before I came to Canada this season. So that was something that was, rewarding for myself and my family. But I have an interesting story. After high school, I was going to walk on to Towson University, but my SAT scores, the ACT scores didn't line up at the time. So I had to take it a few extra times. And by the time that I actually completed the scores that I needed, it was too late. I called the coach, and he just pretty much said, our roster's full, and, we would love to have you in the spring, but right now we can't take you on to the fall. So I decided to, I called around, started emailing a bunch of schools. My school I ended up getting in contact with was East Coast Prep. So it's a prep school in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. So for prep school in the States, some of them are a year, but this one in particular was 3 months. So I was 17 years old. I went to East Coast Prep. Pretty much it was just football. They took our cell phones away. We lived in the woods in a cabin with 8 other guys, and it was an experience to say the least there. When I started, I was actually 5th string on the depth chart. Started off 5th string, ended up working my way up, ended up starting the last 4 or 5 games. And after the season ended, I didn't have any offers still. So ended up reaching out to a Division III school in Virginia called Randolph-Macon. and they gave me an opportunity to go there for the spring of 2015, and I enrolled there. But I didn't have a bad spring ball there, but I just thought I could play at a higher level, just playing with guys that in prep school end up going Division I, Division II. I just felt like I could play at a higher level. So I ended up meeting with the coach at Randolph-Macon at the end of the semester, and pretty much just told him, I decided to reach out to some other schools and that I won't be returning. And I reached out to Edinboro, which is Trevor Harris's school. I reached out to Edinboro. The coach reached out to me actually like mid-July. So camp started August, I think 8th. So mid-July, ended up reaching out with the coach, ended up taking a visit there the week before camp, and ended up walking on to Edinboro. My first season there, another situation, I was sixth string. Decided to redshirt that year, and the following year we had a new coach come in, and I ended up winning the starting job in spring ball, and ended up playing 3 years there. And after my 3 seasons there, I had an opportunity to grad transfer. Since I redshirted my first season, had an opportunity to grad transfer, ended up emailing schools, and the only school that reached back out was Ball State. And the connection there was that Justin Lustig, who replaced our former coach at Edinboro, ended up becoming the coach, and he ended up leaving to go to Syracuse. So when it was time to transfer, I thought about Coach Lustig. He came from Ball State. So I reached out to him, and he kind of set that up for me. Took a visit to Ball State, and, that's how I ended up there. And I played my grad transfer season there for a season, and ended up, having a good season. And when I left there, COVID happened. I was training in Georgia. COVID happened, so my pro day got canceled. And after that, I was outside of football for a little bit. And yeah, that's kind of my story with whole college and getting to the CFL part, I guess.
Just out of curiosity, Walter, because I know, there are a lot of Canadian football fans who know about prep schools. Specifically, for those who may remember, there are a lot of actually Canadians that go and play prep basketball. There's been a huge amount of players have gone and played prep ball before they went to the NCAAs. Can you explain specifically what prep school is for those who may not know? Because it's not a junior college, it's not a college. No. It's a totally different entity in itself, right?
Yeah, 100%. So, like I said, some prep schools they're a year long. Some prep schools are 3 months. But you really want to go to prep school. Let's say you're missing a class, or you have to get the SAT or ACT scores. I think they took those away, or something they changed with that. But like I said, for myself, it's usually 3 months to a year, but usually go there for, classes or test scores, but also it's a chance to get recruited also for schools to see you play at a little higher level than high school.
Right.
So it's a little bit, competition, but another way to get seen in front of coaches, get a little bit more film to get your name out there.
Okay.
But it's a great resource. I recommend it for sure. It's, like I said, it's another resource to get recruited though.
Yeah. Obviously, congrats about your being put into the Hall of Fame for your high school. That's actually a pretty cool accomplishment. I know it's something I'll never get to. But also, one thing I found out, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're also the 2-time Harlan Hill finalist. Is that correct?
Yes. So my after my redshirt season, the following season, or 2 seasons from my redshirt season, I set the school record for rushing yards in a season. And that was with 1,700 yards. And that was a big year for me just because, being a walk-on at Division II, going to prep school and not having any offers out of school, that was very satisfying for me just to accomplish that. And also for my teammates as well. I had a tremendous O-line that year, tremendous coaching staff. And, we put that together. And, I was awarded a finalist for the Harlan Hill that year. And then the following year, I followed that up with 1,600 yards. And that was another accomplishment for myself that I was happy with. But yeah, it was definitely a blessing, man, for 2-time Harlan Hill. It's something that's difficult, especially in Division II. There's so many great athletes there, so many guys coming from Division I that may have gotten in trouble or, certain situations happen. So, that was definitely a tremendous honor for myself and my teammates. And, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Just so you fans who don't know what the Harlan Hill Trophy is, it's actually it's an award given to the American college football, given to the individual selected as the most valuable player in NCAA Division II. Something I didn't know. I know we have something similar up here, Walter. It's called the Heck Crichton Award. So that goes to the top Canadian. So yeah, that's cool, man. That really is cool. And obviously, we get into the CFL portion of your career first. When you were first contacted about, I guess when Edmonton first reached out to you, unless another team reached out to you first, had you ever heard of the CFL? Had you ever seen a game? Had you ever seen anything? Had you seen any bits of the game at all?
Yeah, CFL always used to come on ESPN. I was at home growing up, so I would pay attention to that. But Trevor Harris, the Edinburgh connection, I have him on Instagram, follow him on Instagram, and we would talk here and there on Facebook because he would watch some of my games at Edinburgh. So I was familiar with his career. I followed his career, but actually how I got in contact with Edmonton was actually how COVID happened. I was out of football for a year and a half, almost 2 years, and I posted an Instagram picture tagging Trevor because I was the last person since him to win Player of the Year for our conference. So I tagged Trevor in the picture, and I was like, mentioned with the GOAT, which is Trev, and he messaged me back on Instagram, and he was like, would you care if I put a word, talk to Brock, who was a GM at the time, and Coach Jamie to try to get you here to Edmonton. And I was like, of course, man, I'm trying to get back in the game. I'm just staying in shape, working out, just waiting for opportunity. And I promise you, man, 3 days later, I got a call from Brock, and he said he liked my tape. He said, Trevor's been saying good things about me. He reached out to some other people in my circle, and he offered me a contract on the phone and said he would be sending it a day or two later. And he sent the contract, and I signed to Edmonton, man. So shout out to Trevor. I owe him a lot just for getting me up here, because without him, I'd probably be at home. I don't know what I would be doing. So it's a blessing.
Wow, that's amazing. To literally, hey, Cliff, to be literally offered the contract on the phone and to start your pro career. Oh, I mean,
that's pretty.
Only in the CFL, maybe.
No, I wouldn't go that far, but I mean, it's still a very cool connection nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I
was like.
So it wasn't a, they hadn't have your negotiation rights. It literally was a contract, right, Walter?
Yeah. So Trevor called me. He said Edmonton's gonna put me on the neg list. So they put me on the neg list for when I talked to Trevor. He said he's gonna talk to Brock, and they put me on the neg list. I think the day after, and then I think about 3 or 4 days after we spoke, I talked to Brock, and he ended up, like I said, talking to me, and then sent me the contract over email, and that's how it went down, man. It's crazy because without me posting that picture, I wouldn't be playing the CFL today. So credit to Trevor 100%.
That's cool, man. Hey, Cliff, take over, man. Go ahead.
All right. Let's talk about this Trevor Harris connection over at Edinburgh. I couldn't help but notice that you were the 2018 PSAC West Offensive Player of the Year, and Trevor was the 2008. Now, if my math is correct, there's a 10-year difference. Do you ever get on Trevor's case about being the old head and you the young buck?
Trevor's I get on him a little bit, but Trevor, I told him all the time, like, man, I can't even tell you're 36. Like, he still looks young. He's in the weight room constantly. He's always doing the little things with his brain and just making sure everything aligns for him to have a successful season. And I like to shadow him. Everything he does, I try to do the same thing. Just watching how he carries himself as a pro, how he prepares for games, and he's the ultimate competitor, ultimate teammate. He's a guy you want to have around in your locker room for sure.
There's definitely got to be the trust factor. Like when he's handing off the ball to you, he's got to believe that he's going to go get that first down for me. Yeah,
100%. And Trevor's he's the guy he's very vocal. So he tells me every day that he trusts me back there, and I trust him. When it's time to protect Trevor, I take that personal to, not let any backers get on him. Any safeties coming off the edge, I make sure, that I do my part to protect my guy. And same thing in the run game. He's reading defensive ends for me to create lanes. I have that trust in him as well.
Now, was there ever any interest from the XFL or some of these other leagues? Like I know COVID obviously took its toll on football in general, but was there any other interest in these other leagues, or was it just strictly, Trevor puts in the good word for you, come to Canada, and that's the end of the story?
Yeah, because at the time, XFL shut down, I believe, a year before that, and then the USFL wasn't around the time. So for me, it was kind of NFL, or I didn't know how to get into CFL at the time. My agent wasn't too familiar at the time how to get into CFL. So for me, it was trying to have my pro day. I was training at the time in Georgia for 3 months, and then my pro day was actually the end of March. So the way it aligned, everything got canceled that time. So once the NFL, they didn't have anyone to verify my stats, or not my stats, but my times as far as my 40-yard dash and things. So at that time, it was kind of like NFL, and where else am I going to go? But like I've mentioned before, Trevor looked out and gave me the opportunity that I was looking for, and I'm here to run with it.
All right. Let's talk about your experience at Edmonton. I mean, with Trevor aside, obviously he gets you up there, and you get a chance to play with him. Obviously, things going on with the Elks. I mean, let's call it what it was. It was a very challenging time, I would have to say, if you were a Edmonton Elks fan. For you as a player, though, I mean, how hard is it to tune out that noise, tune out all the extracurricular stuff that's going on off the field in regards to the team, and just focus on your game itself?
Well, for me, it's not too challenging because as an athlete, when you play good, they're going to love you. When you don't play as good, they're going to criticize you, and we deserved that last year, especially with our record. Edmonton has a very rich winning history. So as players, we're held at a higher standard by our fans, and last year wasn't where we should have been. But as a player, you kind of focus on what's going on in the locker room. Your coaching staff, the guys around you. We believed in each other last year, and that was the most important thing. We really didn't pay attention to the outside noise. It was about getting better every day and finishing the season as strong as we could have at the time. But everything's a learning lesson. That was my first season, so I learned a lot about the game, how to be a pro. I was behind James Wilder, who's one of the best running backs in the CFL. So you couldn't ask for a better situation for myself. Learning behind a guy like that, he really prepares you for when your opportunity comes.
Mm-hmm. Now, going into the offseason, Edmonton cleans house. They bring in a new president, new general manager, and new general manager / head coach. What was it like, your experiences with Chris Jones? It was a short time, but how would you describe your experience working with Chris Jones?
For me, he's more of a defensive side. He's on more of the defensive side of things. But as far as a coach, he believes in his guys. He has a standard that he set over the years, and I can honestly say his camp was one of the hardest camps I've ever done as far as the double barrel. But it prepares you, though, for games. Double barrel, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. So with double barrel, one team is on one side, another team is on the other side. So once the ones and ones are done competing, so it's every play. So one side runs a play, next side runs a play. You're just doing that back and forth. So for me, practicing under Coach Jones, it prepared me for games because he made practice hard, and I appreciate that as a player because once you get in the game, you're not thinking. All you're thinking is in practice. So when that time comes to play, everything is just smooth. You're just playing fast. So for me, I didn't have a bad experience. I think he's a good coach. He believes in his guys. You couldn't ask for that more. It's easier to play for a coach who believes in you. And like I said, I don't have anything bad to say about him, but I appreciate my time there 100%.
Now let's talk about your time in Edmonton coming to an end and the reasons behind it. Your reactions when you found out you were being traded as a result of William Stanback going down to injury, and now you're basically expected to pick up his load and be the star, so to speak, for the Montreal Alouettes.
Yeah, when I got that call, it was actually one of our off days. I was just chilling in my apartment, and I got a call from a Vancouver number. So I G-Roy and the connection of DC. I figured it was G-Roy, so answered the call, and it was a short conversation. Pretty much just said, last year it was tough for me to get on the field just with, the whole roster sizes and things like that. And he said same thing for this year. They brought back James Wilder, so I understood that my role wouldn't be as big. But he just pretty much said, Montreal gave me a great opportunity to come in and play with Stanback's injury happening, and he thought that it would be a great fit for myself. And I agreed as well. And, that was pretty smooth. And then when I got here, everybody opened me with open arms. Our coaching staff was great. They got me up to speed with the plays. For my thing in particular, it was more about, not putting too much pressure on myself. I feel like that's something I did in the beginning, which, felt like I had to come out and make plays right away and try to be the guy. But for me as a player, I'm a team guy, so I don't really put that pressure on myself. I think I was just caught up in the moment. But as the season has gone on, I feel like I'm starting to get comfortable, starting not to think as much. And I feel like the guys around me and the coaching staff has trusted me. And like I said, I think we're rolling right now, but we have a lot of work to do, of course. But I appreciate the opportunity that's here. A lot of guys around the league don't get the opportunity to where you're traded to a team and you have a chance to actually come in and play. So I appreciate everything Montreal has given me thus far, and I'm happy to keep this thing going.
And if I remember correctly, too, I think the first practice you were at, Walter, I think I introduced myself. I welcomed you to Montreal, if I remember correctly. So, what is it like as a player being traded? I mean, we've asked this many to the guys who we've had on the podcast before, but for you, what is it like being traded to another team from the team that you started off with?
For me, I had this idea. I didn't understand pro sport. I had this idea that I was going to play for Edmonton for years. I was home. I know I was only there for a year, but for me, the fans, my teammates, that was home at the time. But for me, I was kind of shocked when that call happened, because you see on TV at the bottom of the screen, this guy's been traded, or you go to Twitter and really don't think about that could possibly be you. But when that happened, I was a little bit shocked. I called my family, told them what happened, and pretty much I talked to Eric. He was just like, can you come here tomorrow? And I was like, I need a couple of days to figure things out as far as, my apartment there and bringing my stuff over and things like that. But for me, you could think about it not negatively, but you could, kind of feel sorry for yourself in a way, because it's like you're starting over, new teammates, new team. But for me, I kind of transitioned my mind and thought of it positively. Unfortunately, Stanback went down with an injury, but for me, it was all about opportunity. That's what you work for in the off season, is really getting an opportunity to play and showcase your talent. So for me, it was just kind of like a mindset switch. It's like, don't think about, you're leaving, you're going to a new city. It's more about opportunity, playing, getting, helping your team win and trying to win a Grey Cup.
For sure. Had you ever been in Montreal before you stepped on the field?
I haven't, but I've heard like a couple of my teammates from Edmonton were from here. So I was talking to them even before I got traded. They would always talk about Montreal, how great of a city it is, the food, everything about it. So once I got that call, I was like, wow, I actually come here and experience it. And like I said, I really enjoyed Montreal. I'm enjoying my time here, but I haven't been here before.
Okay.
I got traded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cliff?
All right. Talk to us about the relationship you have with the other running backs. I mean, and I guess now this will have to include William Stanback, but working with Joshua Antwi, I mean, the two of you, as far as I'm concerned, have done more than enough to prove that you belong on this team. I mean, you both bring excitement, energy to the game each and every day. Talk about the running back room and just how cohesive a unit it is.
Running back room is great, honestly. To backtrack a little bit, when I first got here, when I met with Coach Andre, I told him I was like, it's the first time that I really have a true running back coach that's been around for years, that's played the position. I felt like it'll be an opportunity to take my game to the next level. And we talked about that. But as far as our room, the room is great. Stanback, he's a very selfless guy. He's a leader. He doesn't care how many carries he gets. He doesn't care about being the man. He just wants to win. And same thing with Jeshron. When I got here, he opened me with welcome arms. For me, I thought it was a perfect mesh, because the type of player I am, I'm a team first guy. I don't care about playing time, carry. I just want to win. And my room is a very selfless room. We don't care about who has more carries this game or that game. We all want to see each other succeed. And having Stanback back now, I think that's going to elevate our room even more, type of player he is. And like I said, we all have the same goal, and that's to win. Rather who's out there in the backfield doesn't matter. We know we got each other's back, and it's a very good group to be around. This is the most fun I've had in a long time playing football. So I appreciate this group, and like I said, on the field, you can tell the cohesiveness on the field. When I come out of the game, we slap each other 5. When he comes in, same thing. It's all love, and like I said, when you have a team like that, you can go very far.
It's amazing. All right, let's talk about you on the field. You got your first CFL touchdown this year against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Take us through that. Take us through the play that got you that first tutty.
It was an inside zone play. We were in the red zone. When I got the ball, for me, it was typically when you get the ball, you have your reads. But for me, I saw a cutback and the backside A gap. So when I got the ball, I knew how to be a little bit patient and let the O-line get out a little bit. But when I got the ball, I saw the cutback. I took 2 steps, ended up bringing it back to the left, and just lowered my shoulder and got in there for a 2 or 3 yard run. But at the time, we were losing. So, I can't really enjoy it in the game, especially when you're losing at the time. But for me, it was a blessing, man. Everything I've been through to get here and to score a touchdown professionally. Not too many guys can say that. But overall with the play, I think it was a great play call. I don't think they were expecting it. But like I said, it was the inside zone run. Like I said, I saw backside A gap, a lane there, and I took it and got in there.
Did you keep the ball?
So at the time, one of the ball guys at SAS, he said I couldn't keep it. But then Gino ended up overhearing my conversation, and he ended up grabbing the ball for me, and I ended up keeping it. So Dom ended up writing on the football and putting it in my locker the next day. So that was great to see and great to have. I actually gave the ball to my dad, so it was good to have.
Oh, that's nice. And I'm about to say, what player who scores their very first professional touchdown doesn't get to keep a ball, whether you're at home or away? What's with those Rider people? Yeah. Come on, man.
A lot of my teammates, because I didn't celebrate or anything, but a lot of my teammates didn't know that was my first touchdown. Honestly, no one knew besides me. So. Yeah, I think I'll cut him some slack. He didn't know, but yeah, I was definitely trying to keep that 100%.
Man, I just would have taken the ball and ran right to the sideline. Screw them.
Yeah,
I know.
you actually made a good comment here, Walter, and I want to ask you about this. Cliff was just asking you about what's the room like with the running backs, but for you mentioning Gino Lewis specifically, obviously he is a longtime vet here for the Montreal Alouettes. One of the guys that most fans will recognize on the Alouettes roster. What has it been like to have Gino as, I guess whether we could say he's a mentor, somebody you may look up to for information, stuff like that, but what's it like to have Gino as your teammate?
Gino's a great teammate. Like I said, this locker room, the first day I stepped in this locker room, it's a family environment. It really gives me college vibes as far as just the cohesiveness, how everyone's cool, there's no drama, But as far as Gino as a player, as a leader, he's always there to help. If you watching our games, our running backs, we have certain route combinations, and he's always there to give us tips. What leverage to take, what to look for, things like that. And Gino is a very selfless guy. He doesn't care about stats. In the locker room, he rarely talks about himself or anything like that. But he's just a great guy to have in the locker room. With Gino, what you're going to get out of him every day in practice and in the games, and he brings that fire every day. And once you see that motivates everyone else to go to that level as well. So he sets the tone for our offense, and we know what to expect out of him, and he knows what to expect out of us. And we're big on trust here in the huddle. I'll walk in the huddle, Fletch, I trust you, man. Do what you do, And once you hear that, all you can do is elevate, because your brother has your back. So he's a guy you want to have in your locker room.
For 100%. Sure. Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. Like just hearing that, you gotta want to run through a wall at that point, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm telling you exactly, and you can see that. Offense definitely has to play better, but I think you can. So that second half in Hamilton, you can kind of see us come together, and that was a prime example of just us in the locker room saying, we're all we got, we're all we need. We're brothers. It's just time to turn it up, and once you hear that from Trev and Gino, we all want to play better, and that's what happened.
Well, there's no question. You've been putting in the work. We see the numbers. I mean, you're averaging 5 yards a carry every time you get the ball. So I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, you're definitely helping to move the chains here. I mean, that's why Tim and we've talked about it numerous times. When this team gets away from the run attack, we don't know why, because you and Jeshurun, you're doing the job. You guys are putting in the work. You don't get a whole lot of carries, but you make the most of what you get. So I just don't understand at times when they get away from the run like that.
Yeah, it happens. Like I said, I trust AC. AC has played 20 years in this league, so he's seen everything. And I know certain maybe certain times in the game he may be thinking one way or this way, but like I said, with our room, we execute what's called, if we need to pass block, we're going to be there. If we need to run a route, we're going to be there. But I think as the season goes on, close to playoffs, excuse me, I think we'll definitely get to the run. But like I said, I trust AC. I trust Coach Andre with his preparation, and I like I said, I just do what's called, man, for sure.
Yeah. Now, we know you have just a little bit of time in Montreal, but I'm sure the fans want to know what you like about the city. What's it like playing at Percival Molson? Because a lot of fans, when it comes to fans wanting to see a game in the CFL, a lot of them do list at Percival Molson as being one of the places that they want to see a game being played at. But let's talk about Percival Molson and the fans first. Very first home game. What was your reaction? And obviously, you got to play at home for the very first time. You get to warm up. You get to get hyped. What was it like playing at Percival Molson for the very first time in front of your fans?
I just want to say, not just because I play for the Alouettes, but this is the best place to play in the CFL. Just the fan interactions after pregame, slapping up the fans, talking to the fans, coming out of the locker room in the tunnel. It really gives you that atmosphere that you have the support in the community, and it makes you want to play 10 times harder for the fans that show up every game. Either if we win or lose, they're there for us. But just the atmosphere. Just the horns, the yelling, the screams, the high fives after the games. It's a very home environment, and it's cool to play for a place like that. Edmonton, we're not doing so high. We weren't doing so high at the time, but coming here was just a breath of fresh air because, like I said, it really gave me that feeling of your home crowd is behind you. But as far as the city of Montreal, I love the food here. That's the number one thing that stood out to me is the food and the people. It's great people here, friendly people. They're always here to help, especially for me coming at a time, I'm midway through beginning of the season. I didn't really know my way around here, and everyone, my teammates, the city, anything I needed, they helped me get around. So just a very close family atmosphere. You have their support no matter what. So that's definitely good to know and good to have around you.
Now, how do you usually get around the city? Is it by metro, or do you usually take a car, or is it a combination of both?
By metro. I'm from the suburbs, so this is my first time living in a city like this. So for me, it was an adjustment. It was an adjustment for sure. I know my first week here, I was on the metro, man. I somehow ended up at the mall. I got off my side, so I ended up Ubering home. But that was experience for me. But yeah, the metro is definitely been something that took me a while to get adjusted to, but I enjoy it now. It's pretty easy now, but yeah, mainly by metro though.
Okay. Are you that? And I'm not asking specifics, but are you that? How close are you to the practice field over at the Big O? Is it just a couple of stops, or do you have to go a little bit farther along?
So for me, it's just 5 stops. I'm at Barrie. I go to the Barrie Metro.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm I think it's 5 or 6 stops. So for me, it's a one-way shot to the stadium. So for me, it's a smooth ride. I usually get on the Metro around 8:15, 8:10, and then I get to the facility early, start my day. But yeah, it's not too bad. It's pretty quick now.
Have you been recognized yet on the Metro?
No, I wear my Alouettes gear. So, some people stare. They might say hello, but no, I haven't been recognized yet. Not yet, though.
Yeah, exactly. Not yet. We need.
I was going to say, not you've been on the show. That just might change. Don't be surprised.
For me, I'm not really. I'm not big on like popularity and stuff, so I'm kind of a shy guy. So I don't really mind it. But like I said, after the games and things, I definitely get recognized. And like I said, it's cool to hear kids, calling you their favorite player, and hearing parents say they love watching you, and your kid looks up to you. So, that keeps me going, man. It's been a blessing here. I've had a great experience here this far.
That's cool,
man. Doesn't get better than that, man.
Exactly. Yeah. But before we get to the end and talk about the matchup this week versus versus Edmonton, a little bit more about Montreal. You talk about food. You talk about the love of the food that you've seen and that people told you about. Currently, what is your go-to place to eat in Montreal?
So right now, I haven't been to the same place twice, which is surprising. But I haven't. Well, before I answer that question, I haven't had poutine yet.
Okay.
So if you have any recommendations for a good poutine spot, please let me know.
Cliff does. Yeah, for sure. Cliff has a few spots he can mention.
Yeah. if you guys talk to Sandbacker Gino soon, I forgot the name of it, but they actually took me to a Haitian spot near the stadium. I forgot the name of it. I have to double check. But I went there last week, and it was really good. So definitely that place. And then there's also another spot that I went to not too long ago. It was in Old Port. It was like a rooftop setting. Rooftop set.
Okay, yep.
Name too. Yeah. But yeah, I can't remember the names. I'm sorry. A lot of them are hard to pronounce, but yeah, I don't know. I've been to a lot of good food spots around here, man, for sure.
Well, listen, don't worry. As far as Putzin goes, there's no shortage of great places, and I'll tell you what, we'll even take you if need be, Fletch. We want to make sure you get the good stuff and make sure that you tell everybody back in Maryland what's up when it comes to Putzin. Like, I know they got the crab cakes over there, and that's all well and good, but when it comes to Putzin, once you've had it, it's a life changer.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, definitely want to check it out before I leave, man, 100%.
Yep, yeah, something for sure that will have to be on a cheat day, for sure.
Off day.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned before, and I'm guessing this is why you said it. What's it like getting used to the French language?
For me, I've told a couple people that I know that I want to learn, at least be able to have a conversation. But when high school, you have the option to take French or Spanish. So when some of my classmates took French, they would always tell me it's a hard language to learn. So I went the Spanish route, but I should have went the French route because now that I'm here in Montreal, I could have been fluent by now. But it's been challenging at times, but I'm starting to pick up different phrases, certain words. So I'm getting better, man. But hopefully by the time that I leave to go back home, that, I'll be able to retain and be able to have a conversation at least. That's my goal. Just, maintain a conversation for sure.
I was about to say, even Gino, when we saw him last week on the field after we had talked to you, even Gino's like, if he doesn't know a word, he asks, and we're like, hey, we're here to help you, man. And I'm sure the fans understand that you're not fluently in French, but they do, and Cliff will agree with me on this one. They appreciate even just saying bonjour or comment ça va. They appreciate your, even just trying to speak French to them. It does really mean a lot to them.
Big time.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, for sure. For me, it's been a lot of translator apps on my iPhone as far as there's certain words. But yeah, like I said, I know the basics. Bon matin, bonjour, bonsoir, certain words like that. But I'm starting to pick up a little bit more.
Okay, that's a good start.
Yeah,
that's better than a lot of people.
Yep.
So. It's all about the effort, man. That's really what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Cliff, go ahead and let's go ahead and bring us into the matchup with Walter for the game this week versus Edmonton.
Okay, I know, Walter. You said this is all about business, and obviously you guys have a goal in mind. I mean, you want to win this match because even though Montreal can't clinch a playoff spot with a victory, you still want to go in and you still want to make a good impression. You want to go and show everybody that, listen, the Alouettes are serious this year. What's going to be the mindset going into this match? I mean, Edmonton, they haven't won at home in forever, and Montreal's looking to maintain themselves, like keep pace with Toronto. What are the keys for this game for you as far as preparing this game as essentially the starting running back?
For me, it's number one is ball security. Ball security is job security for myself. And one thing I want to do is definitely take care of the football. Number two is, Coach Jones' defense, man, he throws a lot at you, a lot of blitzes. He really tests your preparation as a player. So for me, it's, putting a lot of time in the film room, seeing guys, different tendencies, what do they show, where their looks, how their safeties align, where their back is at. So definitely the mental side of things, you want to come in there sharp. You don't want to be on the field and there's certain looks you haven't seen before. So, ball security, the mental side of things. But number three for me is just having fun. Don't go into the game trying to have something to prove or, trying to do too much. Just play my game, have fun out there. And I think the rest will take care of itself as far as my teammates. I think we're in a good spot right now. Just winning our last home game. I think that's great momentum showing that, even if the first half's not good, we can come out in the second half and play well. So for me, it's just, having fun with it and just being fundamentally sound overall.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, like the 19-point, I hesitate to use this word, but I won't even use it then. Letting a 19-point lead slip through your fingers, shall we say. Yeah. Does that weigh on you guys' mind, or is it just one of those things like, it happened, it's in the past, we move forward?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want to have a short memory playing professional sports. Every week's another week to get better and put a win on the board. But for us, it's more of learning from that game. I know we all made mistakes, offense, defense, special teams. So for us, it's more about going out there on Saturday and correcting those mistakes and letting the chips fall where they do. All we can do is control what we can control, and that's learning from our mistakes and executing this game and, getting the win. But, I think once we come together as a team, I just think we're a dangerous team in this league. So that's the thing, just staying together and playing fast and execution.
That's really what it comes down to, is just taking care of the basics, making sure you take care of the little things before they become big things. Yeah, that's football in a nutshell.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, all right, before we let you go, Walter, I want to personally ask you, talk to us about Duo, the company that you are the owner of.
Okay.
Duo Endeavors.
Yes. So Duo stands for determined, underrated, overlooked. And I started that in 2018 while I was in college. And this is actually before the NIL deal, so I couldn't profit off of it. So I started it. I trademarked it in 2019. But Duo just kind of represents my life, not just football, but things I've been through. But I really hone into the football side too, as far as a lot of people like me maybe didn't have offers, may not be the biggest guys, maybe had trials outside of football. And I think Duo just stands for those type of people who are determined through everything. Even if you have a bad day or a good day, you still are determined. That doesn't deter your mind from your goals. And the underrated, overlooked part comes from, for me, like I mentioned before, not having any offers, coming from a small high school, going to prep school, Division III, Division II, Division I, and then now the CFL, just being underrated, never losing that fire in your heart and your mind. And then the overlooked, same thing. Like I said, I'm not the biggest guy. A lot of people think I can't do certain things in the field, but I don't let that determine my game. So the overlooked portion just gives me the extra fire to keep going and keep proving others wrong, show them that I can't be an every down back, or I can't do this off the field, I can't do that. So it's just something that I've done. I've tried to promote on social media and through my apparel, and a lot of people have gravitated towards it. One of my teammates actually made Sports Center with one of my T-shirts on. So that was cool to see. But, it's just a brand just to bring people together. Like I said, it's not just a sports thing, it's a life thing. So, determined, underrated, overlooked, man. Just want to keep pushing that and keep motivating the youth and anybody that comes in contact with me.
That's amazing. That is great stuff, man.
That is cool.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, that really is neat. Hey, listen, obviously, we wish you nothing but the best for the game versus Edmonton this week. We want for their streak to continue, for our momentum to continue, to getting closer to securing that number 2, and potentially getting it to that number 1, spot in the Eastern Division. If anybody wanted to follow you on social media, or how would they do so, Walter?
My name is Walter Fletcher _ on Instagram and Twitter. So it's just the same username on both, Walter Fletcher _ and, follow me, tweet me, Instagram, message me. I'll always reach back. I love interacting with the fans. So I look forward to speaking with you guys too.
For sure. And obviously, again, good luck to you this week. And, hopefully we'll be able to see you post game for your first Thanksgiving Day Classic in Montreal next week. So get you a little bit of turkey. So.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys too, man. Thank you guys for having me tonight. I appreciate it.
Yeah, much appreciated, man.
All right, take care.
Thanks for Walter for coming on to the pod. I love getting these long form interviews, Cliff, because I think it gives the player a chance to really tell us about what they like, what their career's been like, how they started it, and that's what I like about these things. It's even if they're one take, which most of the time they are. I just love being able to let the players themselves just talk and tell us about their life.
Yeah, just giving them the opportunity to tell their story, because let's face it, I mean, there's times where certain players, what their story is all about, thanks to TSN and the CFL website and what have you, but sometimes you don't always get the whole story from certain players. So to give the opportunity to someone like a Walter Fletcher to tell his story a little bit, and it's pretty fun. It's incredible knowing that he's got that connection with Trevor Harris, and he's got to experience it not once but twice with 2 different CFL teams. That's
exactly.
That's what I took away more than anything else. Like, wow, so these guys are pretty well intertwined, if you will. So it kind of explains why Walter's been doing so well as a member of the Alouettes too. So, I mean, it's great to have that. Definitely appreciate him coming on, spending some time with us. And, we really hope that the podcast karma will now be a part of him. Mm-hmm. And as you know, like as soon as a player comes on the podcast, usually they end up having an amazing game. So sorry, Elks fans, if you were looking forward to seeing Walter Fletcher come back, he just may go off on you on Saturday. So if that happens, well, sorry, not sorry.
Before we talk about the preview for the game itself, a couple real quick things. I want to give a quick shout out to Kyrie Bear. He signed a 1-day contract and retired with the Alouettes. It was great seeing him and get his due. I said before, it was great seeing obviously Chip Cox, and getting his recognition for being being inducted into the Hall of Fame. My only real beef, Cliff, and I mentioned this to you before at post game, and I was mentioning it to other people too, is that I really felt that the way that it was done with the ceremony and the halftime show, I really think that it really took away from Chip's ceremony. Because that, while they're doing the congratulations to Chip, giving him his jersey, giving him a commemorative jersey, et cetera, and giving him his accolades, they're setting up for a halftime show with guys playing light up drums. I really think it was a kind of a slight. I really wish that the Alouettes had done this a little bit better. But then again, what do I know about logistics? But still, still congratulations. But real quickly, what was your thought on how that was done?
Yeah, I mean, I think you want to give someone like Chip Cox, who, again, being inducted in the Hall of Fame is no small feat, folks. I mean, that's pretty, as far as accolades go for players. Like, it doesn't get much bigger than that. Other than, winning a Grey Cup is fantastic, but just being recognized by your peers and being considered among the best of the best, and that's what being inducted in the Hall of Fame basically is being recognized as one of the very best Canadian football players there is. Yeah. The fact that he didn't get, he got his props. He got a very nice tribute to him and everything like that. But when you're also got like some drum group setting up shop, so to speak. So as soon as you can get this guy off the field, you can go into your little light show and nonsense like that. I think that could have been done a little bit better, to tell you the truth. I kind of got that same vibe too when they saluted John Bowman when he made his return to Montreal last season.
Slightly different though, slightly different because of COVID. I'll give that a mulligan, and I'll give that one a pass. But I understand where you're getting at though. Yeah, no, it's just like, what, let the fans really truly get a chance to salute these guys because of everything they brought to this team, everything they've done for this organization. They definitely deserve their moment in the sun. And I don't know, it could have been timed a little bit better. I don't know if it would have been better to do the light show dealy first and then have the celebration for Chip. Or pregame. Again, put the drums pregame.
For example, I mean, there's any number of ways that this could have been done. And at the end of the day, we're just happy that Chip got his due. He got saluted by his former teammates, and there was a lot of really nice tributes on the video board with a lot of his former teammates, and fantastic. And you can see Chip was just so happy. He was happy to have his family there, happy to get the salute from everybody, and I'm sure if you ask him why are you making all this fuss for me? That's just the kind of player Chip was. Just a humble player. Even though he was a beast on the field, off the field, he was very reserved, very quiet, soft-spoken, just absolute prince of a guy. So I'm really happy that the Alouettes were able to salute him. I don't think they're going to retire his jersey anytime soon. We've had this discussion numerous times, and we won't get into that. But I'm just glad that the Alouettes were able to properly salute him, congratulate him for being nominated into the Hall of Fame, and just give him a chance to really say thank you to all of his fans. So once again, this organization does retirements or, celebrations very well, and Chip Cox's was no different. Exactly. One real big transaction that came across the wire, wide receiver Dante Absher was released by the Alouettes. Thoughts on Dante being released? I guess it's not a surprise because he was a big part of that former regime, if you will. And I'm talking about like the Cavis Reed era, the Vernon Adams era, like that, the Kahari Jones era. Like he was a very integral part of Vernon Adams. Like these two guys have known each other for a long time and they've worked well together. So kind of like where Vernon goes, Dante goes kind of thing. Like that was it. So once VA was traded, you had to wonder like just how much longer was Dante just going to be on the practice roster? Because I don't think he's even dressed for a game this year, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe just one game he may have dressed for.
Yeah, one.
So he's clearly not in the plans. Now, I understand too, like wide receivers. I mean, like we've had this discussion too numerous times. Like this wide receivers core, they've stayed healthy pretty much all year. Like it's trying to crack that roster is next to impossible. So a guy like Dante Abshire would have to be outstanding in order to be able to even consider getting him into the lineup somehow. And I just felt, okay, it's just a matter of time, especially with Vernon being gone. Like, how much longer is Dante going to be a member of the Alouettes? Like, even just on the practice roster. And sure enough, he's now on the outside looking in, which is unfortunate because definitely a good dude. Definitely someone who I would have loved to have seen a little bit more out of, but it just didn't work out. So, that's football for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, I know he's going to find a roster spot somewhere because he is definitely a talented player. Who knows? Maybe he goes and gets on BC's practice squad, reunites with his old buddy Vernon Adams. So anything's possible, right? So.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Almost anything is possible. Also, if anybody happened to notice that we have changed our logo colors on our Twitter account over at Alouettes Flightdeck. Cliff, there is a reason, and why did you and I change the colors?
Well, it's in recognition of I hope I'm getting this right. National Truth and Rehabilitation. No,
Reconciliation.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I knew I'd screw that up.
Yeah, it's okay.
National Truth and Reconciliation Day, which is to pay tribute and homage to our Indigenous population, which also ties in. Like you'll notice that the theme is orange. Like they're very big on the Orange Shirt Day that's coming up on Friday, and it's basically just a chance to show that we stand with the Indigenous community as well. Mm-hmm. Let's not forget the island of Montreal at one point was mostly Indigenous as well. I mean, like there's a lot of tie-ins to this, so we wanted to find a way to show our support and recognition of this. So we switched our logo to an orange logo, which I have to admit is kind of jarring every time I go onto the Twitter account to like, whoa, that's bright. Yeah. Okay. Like we're so used to the blue and red and now you got orange. So
yeah, but it's there. It's the second year that we've done it and we will continue to do it, to pay homage and to pay respect to the community that to the entire Indigenous community. So that's, if you're just curious, that's why we've done it. And I think a recognition, as I said, will be done. The CFL will be doing something, and I think a lot of the teams in the CFL will be doing something too. I think BC will be doing something. So it's that's
actually BC actually for their game against Ottawa this week, they're actually going to change the decal on their helmets to show like the indigenous representation of the BC Lions logo.
Oh, cool.
And I think Winnipeg too is doing similar with their W. Yep. So a couple of teams have indigenized. I don't know if that's the term to use, but indigenized their logos as a chance to. And I think one or two teams, I think it's Winnipeg and Saskatchewan too, will be their warm-ups. They're going to be wearing orange jerseys.
Yes, like they did last year, and the monies will be going towards the Indigenous, I think, charities or a group that is in Winnipeg. So, Elks Montreal this Saturday. It will be at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Alouettes are currently favored by, according to 5 Dimes, by 3.5 points. Cliff, they are the over/under is currently set at 54 points. The Elks have not won a home game in more than 1,000 days. I don't know the exact count, but I know they currently are tied for the longest consecutive home losing streak in league history with the Ottawa Rough Riders, and the Alouettes are obviously looking to make sure that streak continues, whether they become the all-time leader or not. this week. The Owls, Esks return kind of a this matchup. I think I'm sure is maybe in the Alouettes' minds, considering what happened the last time that these two teams played in Montreal and the collapse that the Alouettes had at the hands of the Elks.
It's tough to swallow, knowing that the Alouettes were up 19 points versus the Elks in Montreal, and they basically squandered that. They let Edmonton hang around, and Edmonton walked out of here with a W. So that's got to be weighing on their minds just a little bit. Let's not forget, too, there's a lot of former Elks that are on the Alouettes that will be making their return to Edmonton, playing at Commonwealth Stadium for the first time since joining the Alouettes. So I can't help but wonder if guys like Nafis Lyon, Thomas Costigan, Walter Fletcher, our guests tonight, and so many more, like how they'll be feeling about going back to Edmonton after being, I don't want to say dismissed by Chris Jones necessarily, but at the same time, you can't help but wonder, like, yes, it's a business, and yes, you're paid to do a job, and you go where the money is, but at the same time, like, you can't help but wonder if these guys are thinking to themselves, hey, this Jones guy didn't think I was good enough to play for his team. I'm going to show him. You just wait and see. Like I think redemption is going to be on a lot of their minds, just a little bit. They won't say it. They won't come out and say it. We want to go and we want to punch him in the face, kind of deal. But I think there's going to be that little bit of motivation to say, you know what, you traded us for a reason, or we're going to show you that you made a huge mistake. You should have kept us around. But Montreal's loss, or Montreal's gain, or Edmonton's loss is going to be Montreal's gain, and I can't help but wonder if these former Elks players are going to be carrying that, just a little bit of that thought with them as they take the field on Saturday.
It's very possible. I mean, yes, it is true. The Alouettes really have not had that good of a record in their history in Edmonton. They did win their last matchup, last time that they did play against the Elks in Commonwealth. But again, they're going to be going up against Taylor Cornelius, one of the first CFL players to sign a contract which does have some guaranteed money within it itself. It will be a very interesting game itself, Cliff. Considering how well that the Alouettes defense has been playing these past couple of weeks, I'm sure that the Alouettes are going to want to make a statement and hopefully start that statement right away in the first quarter, and just be able to hammer it down the Elks' throats.
Yeah, I mean, we cannot overlook Taylor Cornelius, what he has done over the past couple of weeks. He has just been outstanding, and like such a pleasant surprise too, especially after Trey Ford went down to injury, and they traded Nick Arbuckle to the Ottawa Red Blacks. Like, okay, well, they must really see something in this Cornelius guy. Let's curious to see what it is. And sure enough, over the past couple of weeks, like, he has played some pretty outstanding football. I mean, and funny, not just as a quarterback throwing the ball, but he's actually been a pretty good rusher. If I'm not mistaken, he actually leads the team in rushing right now.
Whoa.
I mean, that's kind of crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
So I mean, like, no doubt this defense is going to have to find a way to disrupt him big time, like, because he has really become a focal part of the offense. Also, too, I'm wondering, Kenny Lawler, he's been bothered with an ankle injury, but has been a full participant in practice for the Elks. And he's one of those guys, and he did it against Montreal when they played here. He drew so many penalties, like defensive penalties against them. I mean, like, this guy, you want to contain him. You obviously want to keep him off the score sheet, but that may be easier said than done. I mean, like, he's definitely a threat, and someone that I think is long overdue for a huge game. And what better way to do it than against this Montreal team that he's burned in the past? So I'm really hoping Montreal secondary, I mean, they've looked really good. They've made some outstanding plays over the past couple of weeks, but I think they're going to have to play outstanding football, especially when Kenny Lawler's out there, because they're going to have to find a way to keep him honest, keep him off the score sheet if possible. But I think those are two guys that the Alouettes really have to pay attention to, because that is, as far as I'm concerned, where the offense is going to come from
Oh yeah, for sure. And obviously, over the past couple of weeks, the Owls have done quite well when it comes to penalties and being able to keep them down. The Alouettes do not need a repeat of what happened when they played the Elks the last time, where I think they set the third highest number, I think, for penalty yards in team history. Most of them on one player. Over 100 on just one player alone. Yeah, if they can limit him, give him the catches, that's fine, but keep him out of the end zone. You know what? Let's get the running game going. Let's hope we can get another return for a touchdown. It would be nice. It's been a couple of weeks since Chandler Worthy's done that, but this game is big. This game, the Owls may be 2.5 games up currently on the Hamilton Tiger Cats, but getting this win would put them up a full 6 points on them in the standings, which could go a long way to securing that home playoff spot. That playoff spot and that home playoff game. So the Alouettes do not need to look too lightly versus no matter when the last time the Elks won at home.
Yeah, no, and I'm sure that's got to be weighing on everybody's mind out in Edmonton. The fact that the Elks have not, they haven't won a home football game as the Elks. That's even more incredible.
I know. Yeah, that's crazy. By the way, just to let everybody know that we were the guests of the guys over at the Turf District podcast this past week. If you want to hear more about what we thought about the game, you can do so by heading over to their YouTube page. It's the Turf District podcast. Yeah, it's over on YouTube. I think they're also on multiple places, just like we are when it comes to your podcast aggregates. Go ahead and listen to Cliffy and I there, or you can watch us, as I said, over on YouTube. When we join up with the crew over at the Turf District, we always have fun. And this was another show which was just so much fun.
So much fun. I mean, so many laughs, so many good moments. We got a chance to talk about the game. We offered up our thoughts, and it was great to get their perspective on things, like how they see Montreal, and they got a chance to see how we see Edmonton. And yeah, just a great time all around. Being able to chat with Andrew, Superfan Mike, and Commissioner Kayla, just absolutely great people. They do a great show each and every week as well, so you got to give them props for that. Make sure you check out their live stream typically every Monday evening.
It's usually every Monday. Yep.
Yeah, but it was. We were honored to be able to join them again. Like, we've been on before, and as Tim said, always a good time, and no different this time around. So after you're done listening to us here on the Flight Deck, make sure you go check out the Turf District podcast, whether it's on YouTube or anywhere you can find podcasts. Mm-hmm. Give it a listen, and it was just good times, just good people having fun, talking football. I mean, it really, truly doesn't get much better than that.
Exactly. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, whatever it may be, you can make sure you do remember you can email us directly. You can email me at tim.capper@alouettesflightdeck.ca or cliff@clifford.pine@alouettesflightdeck.ca. And do not forget to look out for that post over on Twitter where you can win that pair of SportBuff Flight Crew seats for the Thanksgiving Day Monday game versus the Ottawa Red Blacks. It will be including the hashtag Flight Crew seats. So, hey, what better way to spend Turkey Day with your favorite team watching them play? So,
and God forbid, as we said this week, the Alouettes cannot clinch a playoff spot. But if they get the W out in Edmonton, come back home, take on the Ottawa Red Blacks on Turkey Day, they get the win there. I have to believe that would be enough.
I would have
Tim to finally get that X next to their name, saying that they're going to be in the playoffs. We don't know where. Like, first place is still very much a potential.
Yes,
I mean this home and home series against the Red Blacks, and then later on against the Argos. Those
huge. Yeah,
that can make all the difference. Like, I mean, there is a very good possibility that the Alouettes could end up in first place.
Yep. They're currently 4 points out. 2 points out. 4 points out. 4 points out of first place.
Yeah, and I mean, Toronto, like, they've played really well. They pasted the Red Blacks last Saturday, so they're motivated. They want to stay ahead of the game, so they've got a tough matchup against Calgary this weekend, and they're going to want to keep pace as well. They know that Montreal's breathing down their neck a little bit, so this is crunch time, folks. Like, this is the time of year you want to be paying attention to CFL football, because now the playoff race is heating up. I mean, it was starting to heat up after Labor Day. Things were starting to cook a little bit, but now things are, I won't say at a fever pitch, but we're getting there, folks. I mean, especially once Thanksgiving hits and the potential of the Alouettes to be able to get that actual playoff spot.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And just goes from there. I mean, it's huge, folks. So pay attention. Like, make sure you're watching this game. Like, watch this game against the Elks, and then be ready for Thanksgiving Day against Ottawa.
Exactly. Hope everybody enjoys the game this week. Again, we are looking forward to it, and then obviously coming up for Thanksgiving Monday, and obviously return for the leftover bowl in the Ottawa the following Friday. But we'll take one game at a time. Don't look ahead. Cliff, enjoy the game, my friend. Have a very good weekend. And for everybody here at the Alouettes Flight Deck, for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. We're on Final Approach.